Hey everybody, this is Jeff Antoniuk. Welcome to the 13th video in the Jazz Process series. Today I want to talk a little bit about just sort of improvisation in general, not really saxophone specific. I know some of these videos are very specific to saxophone and specific issues, some are more general. As many of you know, I have some gigs coming up with the Baltimore Symphony next week. A week from today is the world premiere night. And I've got a bunch of music that is in the style of Duke Ellington, some actually written by Duke Ellington, some arranged sort of in that style by the great Paul Murtha, a wonderful DC composer, and this is all Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker. So there's a lot of playing on alto, tenor, baritone. And it occurs to me, this is the 13th video, tenor is my main instrument. I haven't done any of these videos on tenor yet, so it's kind of nice to have my old buddy, the tenor, back for a change here. And I've been working on the instruments, been working on these 93 pages of music and everything else. There's tons of improvising. In this show, I think I have 25 or 30 improvised solos. So there's a lot to do. I've talked a little bit about philosophically, am I going to try to channel Johnny Hodges or channel Ben Webster? What I've come up with is no, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to improvise the way I improvise. That said, I respect this music. I respect Duke Ellington and where it's coming from. So I definitely want to be in the zone. So there are things I'll not allow myself as an improviser because that vocabulary just wouldn't make sense with that music. So I think just being a good, sensible improviser and respecting what's going on. So I've been checking out lots of Johnny Hodges on alto saxophone, lots of Paul Gonsalvez. If you don't know that name, one of the great tenor players, undersung hero, was with the Ellington band for a long time. Amazing, amazing solos. And one of the things that I've sort of, figured out, trying to figure out how these guys are soloing, there's a lot of cool chromaticism going on. And I'm working this out for myself. And so an example of this kind of lick, this is an age-old lick. No, I don't think anyone knows where this comes from, but a lick something like this. And by the way, I'm going to play everything in D-flat concert, E-flat on the horn, not actually a super typical key, but there's a number of tunes in this key, so I'm just, playing in that key quite a bit. So a lick like this. There's a lot of chromaticism in there, especially the third to the fifth of that chord in the D flat chord. All that chromaticism. I think I first learned that from Sonny Stitt, so in a bebop context, but this lick goes back further. And how much mileage these great Ellington soloists would get in that real estate between the third and the fifth. And the million melodies they would make up, just using that chromatic space there. So that's one thing I'm really checking out. And now, of course, I'm used to chromaticism in a more modern way. Coltrane or Chick Corea or Kenny Garrett or that kind of chromaticism. This is different. It really sounds different. More melodic, for lack of a better word. So I'm trying to get this chromaticism into my playing, but not a modern chromaticism, which is where my fingers and my ears want to go. So I'm sort of retraining myself. So there's that sort of stuff going on. Lots of half-step approaches, which were built into that. Let me see if I can show you these chord changes. It's about, simple as can be. Here's one of the solos, and if you can see it up there, a 2-5-1 in E flat major, F minor, B flat 7, E flat major. But it's awesome. At that point in the solo, Paul Gonsalvez, I didn't transcribe it, but just, using my ears, hearing what's going on. Over all that F minor, B flat 7, he's screaming an A natural. So now I'm talking in tenor key, but relative to these changes. So it's an F minor chord, a B flat 7 chord, and so our key is, and he's, so he's just screaming on the wrongest note possible, a major third on a minor chord. All the tension. There's no way we can analyze that and not call that a wrong note, right, in a typical way. But of course, so he's playing bluesy there, but this half-step approach and letting that thing rub like crazy, it's awesome. So I'm hearing that all the time. Notes that shouldn't work if we do vertical analysis relative to the chord, but how great that stuff sounds. This isn't rocket science. I'm not the first person to discover this, but you know, really getting into what gives Paul Gonsalvez that style. I mean, this is a lot of what I'm seeing, that he's not looking specifically at all the chords all the time, but he's nailing the changes as he does it. That's the other thing. He's actively ignoring things that a lot of us were trained to never break such and such a rule. But then when it comes to, he's really nailing the changes. It's really fascinating to see how he does it. So there's, you know, another solo that he starts, it's in a minor key, and he starts on the, it's in F sharp minor on the horn. And he starts on the 6th scale degree. He plays something like that. Again, I didn't transcribe 100%. I'm more interested in the spirit and what was behind his thinking rather than like learning the exact notes at this point. I'd like to know his spirit and then have that inform my decisions. I like that approach rather than just let me transcribe his solo and play it. I'm past that. So so some more great chromatic real estate between the 6th and the 5th scale degree. Both in a major and in a minor key. There's all kinds of great stuff like that. Another one that comes to mind that I don't think I heard Paul Gonsalvez doing it on the Nutcracker, on the recording that Ellington did in 1960, but I think it might be from Crescendo, Diminuendo and Crescendo in Blue, his famous solo from Live at Newport. I think it might be a B-flat blues, C on the horn, and he plays something like 1, 2, 1, 2, 10. So he's starting on the 3rd and playing up chromatically, then goes down to the flat 3rd, then goes down to the 2nd scale degree. So it's just totally chromatic. It's a chromatic ascending lick going down chromatically, but it's nailing the chord changes. And then he does it in his amazing wobbly way. He's got this awesome sound that he's not out of tune, but the center of his tone moves around, I think, and his time, it's just swinging like mad, but it's not good metronomic, you know, sort of modern swinging. It's fascinating. You know, how he plays like that. So there's sort of wobble in his tone, this sort of cool wobble in his time, and then this very chromatic language, but that it's so inside the changes a lot of the time. So anyway, it's fascinating stuff to me, and I'm having a great time sort of exploring this chromatic, all this chromatic real estate that there are in these major, minor, and dominant chords, and how to play it in that sort of Ellington-style way. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. I'm looking forward to the next week of sort of digging into some of that. And again, I'm not really going to be playing licks and learning exact licks, but I sort of want to understand the language better and then just speak that language myself. So that's fun stuff. So thank you very much for tuning in to the video today. As I said, this is the 13th one. I'm going to do another 1 or 2 or 3 before next Thursday, December 8th, which is the premiere at Strathmore Hall in Rockville, Maryland. And I'm really hoping that the BSO is going to be recording this because one way or another, I want to get some of the rehearsals and some of the performance online for you guys to see. It's going to be a fascinating show. So thanks so much for tuning in. And you can go to YouTube, go to jeffantoniukeducator.com, and you can see all the other videos archived. The first video, I give a little more background on the gig and the music and what's all entailed in this. So thanks for tuning in. Take care.